Welcome to another bonus edition of Upon Further Review. And in this edition, we'll be talking about the Buffalo Bills at the Denver Broncos. And you can catch this Week 14 matchup on December 7th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on your local CBS affiliates. And what we're doing here on Upon Further Review, we have Madden gameplay along with the show. And I played the game out as the Denver Broncos versus the Buffalo Bills. And you're seeing the edited highlights from that game. I edited out all the, play picking and all that stuff, and it's just pure gameplay. So let's get on with the show. So the Buffalo Bills, they're 7-5 heading into this game. The Denver Broncos are 9-3. And the Bills started off with a 2-game winning streak to start the season. They went into Chicago and they beat the Bears in overtime. Then they hosted the Dolphins in Week 2 and they beat their division rivals. Then in Week 3, though, they went on a 2-game losing streak, first losing at home against the Chargers, then going to Houston and losing to the Texans. In Week 5, they ended up going to Detroit and beating the Lions in an impressive defensive battle there. And Orton had 308 yards in that game passing. That was his first game as a starter. And then, though, in Week 6, they faced New England. New England came into Orchard Park and beat the Bills pretty handily by 15 points. But then the Bills went on another 2-game winning streak, beating Minnesota in Buffalo, and then going to New York and beating the Jets by 20 points. They had their bye week in Week 9. Then in Week 10, they went on another 2-game losing streak, this time first hosting the Chiefs and then going to Miami as they would lose to the Dolphins in Miami. And that was, they split the series there against their division rivals. And then they ended up, they had that snow postpone that game against the Jets where they ended up playing them on Monday Night Football in Detroit. So they were back in Detroit and they've won both games they've played in Ford Field this year. And that one against the Jets, they swept the Jets in their season series and beat them by 35 points. And they ended up playing that on Monday night. As I said, in Week 13 last week, they beat the Browns. That was in Buffalo. That was, you said Johnny Manziel made an appearance in that game. But that was a 2-game winning streak again. So will the pattern hold? Will they now go on a 2-game losing streak? I mean, they've got to go here in this game to Denver, and they got the Packers coming into Buffalo next week. But let's actually concentrate on this game and the Broncos and how their season's gone thus far. They started off with a 2-game winning streak as well, and they beat the Colts and the Chiefs in Mile High. They then went on the road to face the Seahawks in the rematch of Super Bowl 48. They lost in overtime. It's as close as it can get. They had a bye week in Week 4, and they came out of the bye week, and they went on a 4-game winning streak, starting off with a very impressive win against the Cardinals that was in Mile High. They beat them by 3 touchdowns. It was close at one point somewhat, but the Broncos, they, handled the Cardinals pretty well in that game. They then went to New York. They beat the Jets. They then came back to Mile High, beat the Niners, and they beat the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. But then they went to New England in Week 9, and they got spanked by the Patriots. Then in Week 10, they went to Oakland. They beat the Raiders. They spanked the Raiders. Then in Week 11, their 3rd road game in a row, and they ended up losing to the Rams. That was a stretch. Like I said, they went 1-2 in those 3 games on the road. But then they bounced back with a 2-game winning streak in the last 2 weeks. First at home against the Dolphins, and then on the road against the Chiefs as they swept the season series against their division rivals, the Chiefs, and that's not an easy thing to do. The Chiefs are tough, as Buffalo knows very well, as they actually lost to Kansas City back in Week 10, as we were saying a moment ago. But now the Buffalo Bills going into Denver. And Buffalo's got a tough defense. This isn't going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination, although I do think the Broncos will win this one. I think they definitely have enough offense, although the Bills got a great defense for sure. Let's actually go over the numbers, the statistics. When it comes to passing proficiency, The Buffalo Bills are 21st in the NFL in passing yards per game. The Denver Broncos are number 2. They're only behind the Colts. So the Broncos, the number 2 passing team, and they're going up against the number 5 passing defense. That's what the Bills have. They're the number 5 passing defense. The Broncos are the number 10 passing defense. So it's a pretty good matchup. Of course, the Broncos have the advantage in the passing game. It'll be definitely very interesting to see Peyton Manning going up against Buffalo. That really good secondary that they got, plus they have a really good pass rush as well. They're just really solid up and down their defense, one of the best defenses in the NFL for sure. They're in Buffalo. The Broncos once again have one of the best offenses in the NFL, led by one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. They've got the number 2 passing attack so far this season. Let's look at the yards on the ground. The Broncos and the Bills. Well, the Bills are 24th in rushing yards per game, and the Broncos are 18th. When it comes to rushing defense, the Bills are 7th and the Broncos are 2nd. So both these teams struggle to run the ball, but they are really good at stopping the run. And they actually, that's kind of deceptive somewhat. They're not really like that bad at running the ball, either of them. It's more the injuries on both teams. They've had a lot of injuries at running back. You know, C.J. Spiller's gone for the year. Fred Jackson's had some injury issues all year long, in and out the lineup. The Broncos have also seen, it's like musical chairs. Monty Ball went down. Hillman went down. And of course, though, C.J. Anderson has solidified their running game, and he's been having success. But he also catches the ball in the backfield, and he gets yards one way or another and contributes to the offense. But they are more of a passing team. That's where their strength lies. But you got to give the advantage to the Broncos on the ground as well. C.J. Spiller, especially the way he's running, but also just the way the Broncos are shutting down the run. The number 2 run defense, that's something that you can't emphasize enough, how good this Broncos defense is and how much they've improved from last year. And they were in the Super Bowl last year. So the Bills, they got a great defense too. Don't get me wrong. The Bills are a defense that anybody would love to have. I mean, they're arguably, you could argue that the Bills have the best defense. The Lions have a better defense, but the Bills actually beat the Lions in Detroit, so take that for what it's worth. But we look at the points for and against. We're about to see some points scored, it looks like, here by me. Actually, I'm playing as the Broncos in this simulation. Already up 14-3. It's here in the 3rd quarter. Oh, but no, intercepted. And that's what the Buffalo Bills are going to have to do. They're going to have to create some turnovers, and it's tough to create those turnovers against Peyton, that's for sure. But as you're saying, points scored and allowed. The Bills are 16th in the NFL in points scored per game. The Broncos are 5th. And when it comes to points allowed, the Bills are 2nd and the Broncos are 16th. So they match up pretty evenly. So that number 16th scoring offense versus the number 16th, defense against, for points allowed. And the 5th ranked scoring offense of the Broncos against that 2nd ranked scoring defense. Well, scoring allowed points, however you want to say it, of the Bills. This is actually the category where you got to give the edge to Buffalo. The Broncos, like I said, they have the advantage on the ground, they have the advantage in the air, but when it comes to points, the Bills actually have an advantage because of their defense. It's kind of a push on the other side for Buffalo, even though realistically speaking, we all know that the Broncos are a team that puts up a lot of points, whereas Buffalo struggles to score, but they don't allow a lot of points. But Peyton, he will put up points regardless. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised to see this one end up being something like, 21-17 Denver. Would not be surprised. I'm not counting Buffalo totally out. They do have a chance, but they're going to have to get to Peyton. They're going to have to cause pressure. Peyton doesn't get touched very often. That's what they're going to need to do. They're going to need to cause turnovers as well. if they can get some interceptions, and they're very capable of doing so, they do cause some turnovers. We actually look at the statistics, go inside the numbers. They actually, McLevin has 4 interceptions, Cersei has 3 interceptions, Gilmore has 2 interceptions, has 3 players with multiple interceptions, and as a team, the Bills have 15 interceptions, and they have 48 sacks. That's right, they have 2 guys with double-digit sacks, almost 3, as Marcel Darius has 10 sacks, and Super Mario Williams, he has 12 sacks, and Jerry Hughes has 9.5. He's right there with him too. So I mean, they are monsters, and they get after the quarterback, and that's really what the Buffalo Bills are going to have to do to win this game. It's all going to be about, can they get to Peyton? Will Peyton be able to get rid of the ball? I think that the Broncos do win this one. It's in Mile High. They're right there. They're fighting for that number 1 seed. It's going to be between them and the Patriots in the AFC East for that number 1 spot. At least that's how it's looking right now. We'll see. The Broncos, like I said, they're up only by 1 game over San Diego too, so they got to keep pace and keep that space between them and the Chargers. The Bills, they're a couple games back of the Patriots. I think that's too much ground to make up with just 4 games left. And the Patriots can help the Broncos by beating the Chargers. Of course, the Chargers at the same time can help the Broncos by beating the Patriots later on. So, kind of interesting how that all works, as those 2 games are interconnected. And we'll actually be doing that upon further review. Check that one out. It'll be going up as well. And that's the Sunday night game. But in this game right here, I said I think Denver's going to pull it out. What do you think? Do you think the Broncos win? Do you think the Bills can go to Mile High and beat the Broncos? Let me know in the comment section below. Very interested to read your thoughts and opinions. If you like the show, go ahead and hit the like button. You can also share it with a friend. Let people know about this channel and about this show. Like, hey, check it out. Just giving stats and Madden gameplay. But I greatly appreciate everyone listening very much. Here's our player of the game right there, Chris Harris. We're going to see our play of the game here in a moment. Let's see, what's the play of the game? And, oh, of course, Peyton Manning. And that's right, this touchdown right here to Emmanuel Sanders. That was early on. I think that might have been the first score. But that's the game right there. And as I said, thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and having a great weekend. And make sure to enjoy all the sports.